Welcome back. We're back. Two fans, one Paul. Myself, David Quist. Lovely co-host, KB Kirk Brown. We're officially in week one. It feels damn good. Obviously, today we're going to talk a little bit about the week 0 game, go over our games, talk about the game of the week, which is, it's a good week for week one, KB, let's be real. But I'm glad we're here. I'm looking forward to Friday. I'll be golfing all day. I'll be in East Lansing all day. It'll be a hell of a day. But throw it to you, and then we can talk about the first game in Dublin, Ireland, which was definitely a week 0 game.
I'm really excited to talk about it. I mean, I looked at the first 3 weeks of slate, and there's some really big bangers due to some conference games having to get moved up. So I'm really excited about the start of the football season. Best time of the year. Beautiful weekend. Good games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Games to keep you and everyone on this extended Labor Day weekend up and happy. We're going to talk about our 2 games, recap the last one like Quist said, and then cover OSU, Texas. Probably one of the biggest first games of the year ever. So I'm excited to get it. And Quist, let's talk about Farmageddon, there's been some talks that sounds like I think it was K-State's AD or maybe some people in there don't want it to be referred to as Farmageddon, that they've never officially adopted that name and that there's some hostility to it. So Quist, what do you think about the game? Obviously, week 0, I think the game played a big effect. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, weather played a massive. I mean, the rain was huge. I mean, the beginning of the game was absolutely disgusting. Punt, drop, punt on the 5-yard line, on the 1. Let's do a toss. Why not? Fumble, messy game. Yeah, I was talking in one of my group chats, like, hammer the under. We should have hammered the under before the game went live, and we were right. Iowa State comes out, 24-21 win. It was definitely a week 0 game, and I think the weather really, hurts early game like this, conference game. It's a big game, and it's a downpour. You're in Ireland, and the travel, lots going on. It got a little bit better in the second half. Both quarterbacks were okay. There was a broken play for Kansas State to make it close at the end, and then Iowa State had a couple of big plays. Their running back was pretty fresh towards the end, but kind of what we expected, KB, a lower scoring game. Iowa State wins. I think Rocco Becht looked good when he needed to, and this is a fun game. It's a fun win, fun game. I think it's cool that they go there. We'll see who does this next year. I think that we already know who it is. I don't know if a conference game is good for this. And one more thing I noticed on the broadcast, when they went out of the stadium, there's a house in the shadow of this thing. Like, literally, I could spit on it. It was insane. I don't know if you like that or love that. That's very European, Irish, England, if you know, like, other soccer stadiums. They're like built into neighborhoods for smaller teams, but it's kind of cool and interesting. But I love the vibes. It was a fun game. It was a messy game. It was a November Big Ten game, if I haven't seen one. But it was fun, and it was a little bit a taste of what's to come this week.
Yeah, I mean, you said it really well there. I thought one of the things I was a little is that the paint on the field was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
You really couldn't see the spots, and there's poor spots the entire game. Like, I saw people miss spots by like 2 to 3 yards on plays, so it looked like 0 game for the refs too. Guys, it rains 153 days out of the year in Dublin. Let's just cover the stadium. I mean, it could be a wild fact. 153 days. Let's get some coverage on it. It really impacted the football game. I do kind of hate how good our video cameras and stuff are, because you couldn't tell how hard it was raining until they really zoomed in on players and some of the hats. Because I was like, God, why have they ran the ball 7 straight times? And then they zoom in finally to the players, and it's a slog out there. Obviously, Dylan Edwards went down with the muffed punt. It was the first play. He rolled up on his ankle, and he's probably out this week, which, guys, North Dakota, really good FCS team coming in after K-State just traveled across the country dealing with a brutal loss to a rival in Iowa State. Sneaky game this weekend. Keep your eye on it if K-State can't really bounce back. Yeah, the quarterbacks looked decent. Avery Johnson definitely made some plays in the second half, aided by some really long passes. And I thought he looked confident. I thought he ran a little footed. There's the 4th down stop where I think he tried to kind of be impactful as a runner, and he is a big guy, but he didn't run through the tackle, and that's what ended up catapulting Iowa State to the win. But it was a fun game. There's a more good plays to come, but it was definitely a week zero game with everything. And you talked about hammering the under. I mean, the over almost hit on that last play for a lot of people where the dude got stopped on the 1 yard line. Iowa State kneels it out on the one. The anti-James Franklin, if I've ever seen one. But really impressive performance. They get a huge win. I get these games and they're trying to make it important, but I'm seeing a lot of clips coming from them in Ireland, and a lot of people didn't know anything, didn't care about anything. They're talking about, yeah, this is Dublin. We serve hundreds of thousands of fans. They've been loving it, and they're from blah blah state and blah blah state. So I don't think they like them there. I don't think we should play this game. I was kind of on the fence of like, oh, that's probably a cool experience for the players and stuff, but with the impacts to the players, with how much they're traveling already, I just think we should get rid of international travel games. Michigan might go to Germany and
play Western Michigan.
Yeah, yeah.
Make that make sense.
We're playing people in the same state. I just think we have TV execs that know that they can sell, a big game, and that's what we've gone to. This is America's game. It's not the European game. MLS teams don't play premier actual matches here. They play friendlies. They play, kind of like, oh, come and watch, this big grand television thing in America, but they don't play meaningful games there. We shouldn't do that either. I saw that, and this is just another thing, not to get rambly because we got our game to focus on. The Super Bowl might be in London at one point. That's one of the goals. And if that ever happens, we need to shoot the commissioner. Like, I'm not calling there's been enough political assassinations. I'm figuratively saying, like, shoot him down from his post. Like, he should be removed ever doing it. No big game. This is kind of teetering on way too big of a game where the refs couldn't spot the ball because we can't fucking paint a field and deal with some rain. So that part I didn't like it, but it was an awesome, fun game, Big 12 game, a lot of close games. And the Fighting Larry Keeneys, I pulled for Iowa State, happy that they got the win, but devastating loss for K-State. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out.
Yeah, shout out also week 0 Hawaii. That's an upset over the Stanford Cardinal GM Andrew Luck. Fun fact, I think Frank Wright's their coach for like 1 year. It's interesting going on, but yeah, big win for Hawaii. Want to shout them out. Love to see it. Let's jump to our games. We'll highlight the week 1 game of the week at the end, towards just like quick and easy. Since we'll go in order of kickoffs, KB, let's go to my lovely Spartans here playing Friday night, 7:30 at Spartan Stadium under the lights. I love we play on Friday because I can be a potato all day Saturday and just watch college football. I'll just go over the lines and I'll throw it to you. So as of right now on ESPN Bet, the spread is 20.5 in favor of Michigan State. Over under 49.5. Obviously money line is favored in state big time. Opened at 20.5 as well. I've seen 19.5. Give me your thoughts, KB.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing Western, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, these games, I'm excited to see the Michigan running back, Polkabana, who's Michigan transfer there, so I'm excited to see some of his game, if they can do anything, but this is kind of just, I'll pick MSU. They obviously think Western can score some points with a 20-point spread and a 49 over-under. I would lean MSU to cover that. I really like the receivers. I think I'm kind of looking at a few things here. How does the O-line look? There's an FCS transfer at tackle. It's always tough to make that transition. Can they protect him? And then I really like Childs made so many big plays last year, but can he make the 5-yard quick out? Can he hit the check down? Can he get to his reads to make the consistent play, and not always hunting the big play that led to a bunch of turnovers last year and a really poor completion percentage? And then lastly, the thing is running the ball. Can they establish the run? I don't think at any point in time last year, outside of maybe the Iowa game, which was like the weirdest game ever where they played their best game of the year and they dominated, I didn't see them run the ball effectively really all year, even against some of the worst teams like Boston College. I know they really struggled running in that game to close it out. So can they run the ball effectively against Western, who's a lesser opponent? Can Childs avoid turnovers? Because last year he threw a pick before they even entered the stadium for some people.
First play.
First play. So all in all, I think MSU's going to be a bit better. I think they cover. I think defensively we'll figure out a lot. But just clean up and turnovers, and it'll be a good Friday night game. There's a few other higher case ones, but definitely one to switch to.
Yeah.
How about
FS1.
you, Chris? What are you feeling about your Sparties?
Yeah, I don't know if we cover. I think 20.5 points first week game is too much, personally. I can see us being up like 35, 38, 14. And then at the end, they get a couple of garbage points. I think State obviously wins and has a lead here, but I know Western will have a good running back. Their defense will be all right with Tate Halleck leading, former Spartan dog. And I know Western's got some transfers. The quarterback situation for Western will be interesting. They have a JUCO transfer and then a guy that was a backup last year, so neither guy has a lot of snaps, and both are going to play, which I don't think the two quarterback system is always great. I think Western's O-line is also decent, and their D-line is decent for a MAC team, so that'll be something to watch. I mean, last year the FAU game was very, very frustrating. The quarterback didn't know how to slide, and we just couldn't get a lot going. But I think this year, you get the receivers the ball any way you possibly can. You give them jet sweeps, you give them bubbles, you give them screens, pop passes. Just get the ball to Kelly, to Marsh, and to McCray, and whoever else is in that rotation. And then, really get this O-line churning and burning. If it's Childs with some bootlegs, or three running backs, if it's Frazier, Tullis, or Tau Tolliver, whoever's the hot hand, ride them. And, I think even Clarizio might play too, the freshman. But I want to see the hot hand. I kind of want to see a running back emerge here. I think the O-line play is huge. I also think the D-line needs to get some pressure. I know last year against the first three games we had a bunch of sacks, but I think we also had a 7-game streak with no sacks. So I want to see what we can dial up on defense. And also the secondary is a lot of new guys too. So there'll be a lot of rotating guys there. But I think finding that edge rusher, that main edge rush guy, if it's one or two guys, really need to dial in. But I would love to see a couple deep throws by Childs if it's Marsh or somebody else. Maybe a little trickery, but not too much. But I think we win handily. I just don't know if that cover is possible. I did a little parlay. I got Western to cover, State to win, and the over. Just knowing sometimes these games can get kind of weird and goofy. But just looking forward to a nice, clean game, not a lot of penalties, and finding that hot hand at running back, and then really leaning on Childs and even the tight ends. I'd love to see the tight ends get involved, like Velling, Parachek, and Manzunas, because all three are pretty solid. But kind of curious to see what Lindgren can do with this talented offense. I think that's kind of our strength. And then hopefully the leaders on defense, like Jordan Hall and a couple other guys, can really lead us and show us what we got going into a decent game next week against Boston College.
Yeah, just a quick question for you. I've been reading some, and I want to make sure that I'm up on MSU so I can be clear. I saw Todd Tolliver is actually maybe RB3 and isn't getting RB1 reps. So do you feel like that's a good thing where the guys behind him, are better, more talented? Because, he had like 700 yards last year at Sac State, so it's not like he's a worthless running back. Or is it like, oh my God, why did we pick this guy up? What do you feel like it's more of from what you've been hearing, maybe some of the things, or just like gut feeling? Obviously we're not in the trenches of listening.
Yeah, a little surprising, but I think that's also good because it shows that these true sophomores that we recruited are, showing up in practice. I think a game is different too. Some guys are gamers, some guys are shitty in practice. I think Tullis and Frazier are 1-2, and then having Tau Tolliver, a guy that has all the experience, even though it's FCS, played with Cam Scadaboo, I'm pretty sure, which is a fun fact. I think having that and having all three of them guys pushing each other is really good, and then having a guy like Clarizio, that's a local kid from East Lansing High School, being the fourth guy, and them all pushing each other is good. So for me, it's good, but a little surprising because you would think a guy like Tau Tolliver would be stepping in, having all that experience, even though I know it's FCS, but Sac State's a decent program. But it just shows, hopefully, that these guys are ready to go. I know Tullis is that bigger guy, bruiser, and then Frazier is kind of that home run guy. He's been catching a lot of the balls out of the backfield, so I'm looking forward to, I wouldn't mind a couple dual backs. I know we're going to have a lot of tight ends in the field. But I like we both said, KB, I think you lean on Childs and these receivers, and then you find ways to get, you should get 5 or 6 a carry against a team like Western. I know the D-line's decent for a MAC team, but the goal to me would be 5 a carry, hopefully a couple big runs, maybe a big run by Childs, and really see if Frazier and Tullis can really pull ahead and be those two horses, I think that'd be great.
And then one last question, Chris, unless you have anything else to say, but I'm assuming MSU is going to win this game. I feel comfortable. Like I said, I picked them to cover. Outside of that and outside of injuries, what would you deem opening day game a failure? Like, what would you be like, God, it's just like last year, just like Tucker. Like, what's that thing that, like, in the back of your mind you're kind of real scared of that maybe you don't have, like, an answer to, and you're going to be frustrated or disappointed if it happens in this game.
Turnovers. I would say just beating yourself. So not being a sound team. It sounds like coming out of camp, we're confident. We're kind of like at that little moxie, little chip on our shoulder. We're quiet about it. So if we come out and we're turning the ball over with interceptions from Childs and fumbling the ball, and then having a lot of dumb penalties, and the game's a little too close, like I think it was relatively close with FAU on the third quarter. If we're making penalties and having bad turnovers and maybe like just bad, sometimes targeting can happen, but just like bad penalties, and the game is like up by 10 in the third quarter, I'll be pretty frustrated. I wouldn't say a failure, but a little worried going into a revenge game, in my opinion, against Boston College at home. Good question. That's all I got. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we'll be in East Lansing all day. I got tea time at 9:20. Lots open early, so I'm not even sure what we're doing for lunch, but lots open at 2 o'clock. Jay Batter AD teased a little fireworks, which I think is dope. And I really appreciate the new AD really stepping in, bringing back a tailgate at Munn Field, talking about fireworks, making sure the concessions are better, the game day experience, things that I think the other AD before him weren't really focused on. Even naming rights for the stadium. I was listening to a podcast today with him and another one of the state podcasts, and I wouldn't be surprised if state got naming rights. That just brings in more money to the university, and that will probably help everybody. I know he did it at Georgia Tech, and it would probably be something like Rocket, Spartan Stadium presented by Rocket or something like that. I'm not against that. Money talks and bullshit walks nowadays, and I like what J-Bat's doing already. Like that Munn tailgate was a big deal, and we took it away, and he's already bringing it back. And I saw a cool video today of Izzo calling a guy about it and like saying, hey, I want you to have my passes and be like part of this tradition again. So a lot of cool things coming around the game day experience, which matters a lot to someone that is a season ticket holder and in tailgates. I think being on campus that's kind of my favorite part. Obviously I love the game, but just being there is fun, as you know.
Yeah, huge part of college football is, all the festivities, even the NFL is everything beforehand, before the game. It's a whole day experience. Being out in Arizona, I haven't been able to go as many, Michigan MSU games as I wanted to. I've gone to a few ASU ones. They're trying to pine for an indoor facility so they can indoor tailgate. Obviously, with the heat here, it's not always the most fun to be out in 115-degree weather on a Saturday. So it's bearing down on you. If we can AC unit might invite some people to tailgate a little bit more, but 100% Quist. I'm excited. You gotta report back to us on those game day experiences, what you guys appreciate, what you guys like about it. So I'm really excited. Anything else to cover? Or we're gonna jump over to the Michigan game.
Let's jump to your game. You
can kick us off. You gave me the pleasure of kicking off Sparty. Kick us off, Quist.
Yeah, so I can give the line. So spread is 34.5 in favor of Michigan. Over under is 48.5. This is a 7:30 kick on NBC on Saturday. KB, I'm really interested to see what happens in this game. I think that's a big spread for a freshman quarterback. I think Bryce is going to be good. Don't get me wrong, but it's still a big step from Michigan high school football to I know New Mexico is not special, but don't get me wrong. But it's going to be a lot different for him. Really curious to see who steps up for you guys in the receiving core. I just don't know a lot. And I also think besides McCulley, there's a lack of size, and he's also a previous quarterback. So I'm curious to see how they use him and the other guys. I think your tight ends are going to be huge. I think you probably know that too. Looking at the running game will be interesting and fun. I know it's more of some new faces. I know the O-line's going to be really good. I know you had an injury, but I think the O-line will be good and stout. Interested to see how they do. And I'm not really worried about your defense, KB. I think you'll be stingy as always. You guys, it's very much a program thing like Iowa where they're going to keep you, they're going to lock you down and whatnot. So I don't think Michigan covers. I think they get the win. I'm definitely going to be watching this one kind of locked in just to see how Bryce looks in his first game. Curious if Mikey Keene gets in at all, if he's struggling a little bit. But you don't want to hurt a freshman's his ego and that confidence going into a big game in week 2, I believe, against Oklahoma. So I think Michigan does well. I think they get the win. I think 34 points is too much for a first start for a freshman quarterback, but they'll probably still win by 3 touchdowns and a field goal, something like that. But really looking forward to seeing how you guys move and do everything with. Obviously, the bowl game win's great. Going off of that and keep on rolling. See how Sharon Moore can be a head coach. I'm not the biggest fan. I think he's not a long-term guy, but We'll see how they do in week 1. But give me Wolverines to win and the Lobos of New Mexico to cover.
Yeah, it's a very fair point, Quist. And yeah, there's some lingering issues, some questions about Sharon Moore. Obviously, this is one of the first 2 games he can coach before he gets serves his U of M punishment for the next 2 games. But yeah, Bryce Underwood, it's going to be, that's the storyline. That's really the program is a young kid from Michigan.
Got a bag.
That stayed home, and he grew up, he played for the Michigan Wolverines as a youth in the Detroit area. So it's a cool storyline. It's a really, really fantastic thing, 5-star. And I was just looking, I went all the way back to Trevor Lawrence's 2018 5-star true freshman season, just to see guys who played, at least 9 or 10 starts, kind of what their numbers were. You're kind of looking at the 60 to 62% completion percentage. You're looking at, less than 20 touchdowns, around 15, and then usually double-digit INTs. So that's kind of my bar for him.
Deep cut.
I do want I looked all the way back. We got
KB, ball knower.
We got DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola, Dante Moore, Wegman, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Ryan Helinski, Trevor Lawrence, JT Daniels, and Darius Thompson Robinson.
Ryan Helinski, wow, what a name, KB.
Yeah,
he was
had a terrific
nothing burger career.
2,300 yards as a true freshman, 11-5 TD ratio, and it fell off a cliff. Obviously, the next year was COVID, so there's a lot of ongoing factors. And we saw a big impact right before that. You had about an average 3 5-stars, starting in the top 5 as true freshmen. And COVID, I think, halted a lot of quarterback production and scouting and, time on hand.
For sure.
But to backtrack from that, I just want to see basically 3 things from him. A ball thrown more than 20 yards downfield. I just want to see it. He can do it. I watched his highlights yesterday. But just as a Michigan fan, our longest completion was like 33 yards, and it was like just a prayer. The last second throw against Texas where Samaj Morgan made a play. So that I want to see him getting in and out of the huddle. It's a home game, and the next game's in a really rowdy, tough environment. I don't want any delayed games. I don't want illegal formations. I don't want too many men in the backfield. That's one of the key things. And some fans might be laughing at me. That's one of the most important parts is being a quarterback is getting everyone lined up and getting the play right. That's 90% of your job. Not 90%, but 90% of your job before the snap happens is that. And then lastly, I want to see us use his athleticism. And I know some people you can't get him hurt, you can't run him a lot, but you just need to show it. I don't need 20 carries out of this guy. I just need 3 or 4 manufactured carries. He ran a lot of power sweeps, a lot of QB sweeps in high school, especially his last year, and just get him in that rhythm. Just overall concerns, I think Michigan probably doesn't cover this game. I assume there's going to be at least 1 pick thrown. There's usually a pick thrown. Someone's going to disguise a coverage, and he's going to make a mistake. He's a freshman. To correct 2 things you said, which released Monday, so you probably wouldn't know this because we haven't talked. But Jaden Davis, who's a redshirt freshman, who's a high 4-star recruit last year, is actually the QB2. So this might be Keen injury. It's basically the same thing as Jack Tuttle from last year. He has going reps. In training camp so far. So Jaden Davis is actually a QB2.
Okay.
And then there's some corrections on the size. Jamar Browder is a high 4-star true freshman, and he's 6'4". They have a sophomore that's around 6'3". So there's inexperienced size, but at least some size. So I just wanted to correct that to make sure. But yeah. And then defensively, I really want to see the front 7 dominate. They're supposed to be the best part of this unit with some young cornerbacks and a new transfer at nickel. So really just want to see them dominate and then see how those guys do. And then O-line, there was a pretty big shakeup. Obviously, we talked about the Babalola injury. He was fighting for that starting job. It went to Evan Link, who really struggled at right tackle last year. He went to left tackle, our guard left guard. So those guys are kind of the same side of the line now. So I want to see how they perform on the same side because they both struggled at times last year. The center, just get all the calls right. And then the right guard is actually Nathan Afobe was kind of the shoe-in. I believe he's a redshirt sophomore, redshirt junior. He's kind of been waiting in the wings behind some pretty experienced guys. And Brady Norton, who's the Cal Poly tackle transfer, he was a freshman All-American last year at Cal Poly as a tackle, and he slid inside. Sounds like he added the necessary weight. He's really athletic, but maybe not a power guy. So I'm looking how he pulls, how he gets out in the space. Even just going from FCS, you're going to D1. Can he handle himself? I trust this O-line. Sharon Moore's a line coach, and I think last year, you had to replace 5 starters. This year, you're replacing more like 2. 3 of the guys are new positions, but they started basically all last year. And your right tackle started a few couple, spot starts and started in the Alabama game. So you at least feel a little bit more comfortable than Michigan losing 6, starters on the O-line last year. So just excited. And finally, the run game, Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall. Their nickname that's been given to them by fans is Law and Order, which I think is really cool. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see them catch footballs out of the backfield. I think that's something Michigan has really struggled with since Harbaugh got here, running some screens, getting the ball outside, so maybe that can alleviate the stress. But just excited to watch Michigan play football. I mean, it's a night game. There should be a lot of hype surrounding it. And if you can get up early and start rolling, that'll be really cool. And like you said, Quist, about replacing Bryce Underwood. Sharon Moore said he's our quarterback. We're gonna ride through his struggles. He's a freshman. He's got to learn. It's important that he knows that we trust him, even if he makes mistakes. So okay. I think that's like something where like if it happens and you have a bad game this game, Oklahoma, onward. Maybe you have different things, but basically everyone their true freshman year that started their true freshman year that I looked up put up respectable numbers, and in comparison to last year, like fucking unbelievably better numbers. So I do think we are in a big position there. So next game though, 100%.
I'll throw out the same question. Like, what would be like a failure? What would be like? I'm like worried going into this Oklahoma game, which I think is obviously a tougher opponent than Boston College coming to state.
Yeah, 100%. Going on the road is always tough, and especially with their defense is really tough. I would say 2 things. Last year, especially early on in the year, our cornerbacks, every single double move they bid on. So I'd really like to just see the secondary and play not conservative, but play within themselves, not try to make a big turnover worthy play, really lock in on the outside. And then offensively, I'd say false starts in protecting Bryce. I watched some of Bryce's highlights. He tended to drift in the pocket a little bit. And when you're a senior in Michigan and you're 215 pounds, you can kind of do a lot of what you want. But it really helped me feel better if he sat in the pocket a good amount and they protected him. And this isn't a great team that's coming to them, the Lobos. They do have Idaho's coach and their quarterback from Idaho who gave Oregon a scare last year. Right, who gave Oregon a scare last year at Oregon. So this is a doing for the part of the year. But I just want to see our O-line manhandle them, no false starts, and a clean offensive procedure. I don't need them to put up, 50 points. I don't really care. I just need to see them execute football unlike how they executed last year. If they look just as sloppy, messy, missed assignments, missed guys in the blocking game, if we're running into 8-man boxes again, I might jump off of a cliff here. I saw that enough for more than 2 lifetimes. If it's 3rd and 8, if we line up and run a dive when it's a 0-0 game in the first quarter and we're not in plus territory to kick a field goal, that's kind of everything. Just like, what is decision making? What is the offense actually going to look like? Obviously, we're not going to, bust our load out on every single creative playbook and tricks and stuff. But can we just execute the basic things, which we didn't see at all last year? Outside of maybe 2 or 3 drives where we effectively ran an offense.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that one just to see how Bryce does and how if the coaching's gotten any better. I think State's coaching staff is really solid, so I'm curious to watch Michigan's as well as the season goes on. But let's transition to the big game of the week, KB. This is easy. This is the biggest game on week 1 I've known as since I've been alive I can think of. Maybe I'm wrong there, but we have the number 1 Texas Longhorns going to Ohio State Buckeyes. Big noon kick. This should be a night game. Let's be honest, Fox. Spread is -1.5 for Ohio State. We're doing it live. Over under 47.5. I think Texas is going to they got a new quarterback. If he can get the ball to his receivers, I think Ohio State can do some work. But I think Texas, with Sarkisian, with Arch, I think Arch is athletic and can make some stuff happen on offense. So interesting when it comes to both quarterbacks actually being starters now. But I think Texas's defense here is going to be really good and moving people around. And Sark being a magician at calling plays and getting guys the ball that need it, I think Texas could win here by a touchdown to 10 points. Really looking forward to watching this one. Like I said, I'm going to be a potato on Saturday after our game and having a long day in East Lansing, and I'm looking forward to starting the day off with this game as much as I think it should be a night game. But, I don't control what TV execs do, but really looking forward to this, KB. This could be a rematch later on in the playoff. You never know. And looking forward to see how Sayin can do. They're saying he's really good. I mean, his receivers are going to be next level and his tight end. I mean, the running backs are always good. And interested to watch their defense. This will be a fun one. It'll be entertaining. Kind of curious if that over will hit to see if the defense. Usually in the beginning of seasons, I would say the offense might light up the defense. But we'll see. This will be a fun one. Great way to start to week one. No complaints here. Give me the Longhorns, though, to win at OSU.
Yeah, and I really like your breakdown there. And I think one thing you talked about was a big noon kickoff. And I did some, I love them, of course, when I got to bring it. So I did total appearances on big noon kickoffs since it started. So
they love
dates
Michigan.
Back all the way to it dated back all the way to 2019. They didn't do a full season. But 2022 or 2021 onwards, so 2021, obviously COVID season was really weird. No fans were in the crowd. But OSU has had 15 big noon kickoffs, 10 of which have been home games. So they've missed out on 10 home games in the last 4 years. That's also excluded any BTN games. This is all their home games. Michigan has had 13 in that same time period. So, obviously their games against each other, and basically every time they play Penn State, and is kind of what it's been happening. And the rest of the conference haven't picked up the load overall. So it's really those three teams. And you look at Michigan, or who the Big Ten added. Washington, no home game is ever going to be at big noon. Neither Oregon, UCLA, USC, right? They're not going to force West Coast teams to start at 10. Maybe a little bit. But almost the majority of the time, they're not going to have home games. So these big schools, Maryland's been a part of 3, basically because they played Michigan or Ohio State. MSU's been a part of 1.
Was that the Michigan game? That was the Kenneth Walker game.
Yeah, the Michigan game. Yeah, so, I just think that this is such a bad setup. And, if you put Ohio State and Michigan, you're going to get numbers because
that's the game. That's just the way it is.
Bases. Well, it's just the largest fan bases in the conference, alongside Penn State, and it's the largest fan bases in the country. Every single time you look up viewership numbers for the last 5 to 6 years, it's Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, that consortium, Georgia. So, yeah, big noon. You can play games at different times. Now, I know you made it a huge thing, but I don't think it's beneficial to your home environments. I don't think it's beneficial to your fans. But again, we're jerking off to, the TV brokers who make all the rules for our sport now, where we can no longer, enjoy games at 3:30 or 7:30 in the Big Ten. And it really sucks. Obviously, the game has been at noon for a long time, and it's pretty traditional to be there. I have no problem with that, but they get so many big games eaten up at a 12 o'clock start, and I just simply think it's unfair. It's the whole entire top half of the conference, basically OSU, U of M, Penn State, and Nebraska a little bit, is basically paying for everyone else to have better start times because they get screwed out on having the most viewed games every single. So I'm in your corner, OSU fans. Both of us had 5 games in a single season. And last year's especially bad for Ohio State. They had 4 home games last year that were big noon games. So that could be over half your games, that you get at home basically if you have a really weird conference slate. So
yuck.
I said all that just to rip on Fox and where the sport's moving, but I do want to back out a second and talk about the game. I don't think there's a wrong answer to the game. There's a lot of unknown on both sides. I think what we do know is that this wide receiver core for OSU is going to be in unbelievable. We know they're going to put up huge numbers. We know they're really good, really fast, really strong, and they run by you. We know that Texas's D-line is going to be absolutely masterfully atrocious. They are going to get after the quarterback. Both of their top 2 sack leaders are coming back for this team. And OSU is placing 2 first-round offensive line. They've recruited the position well, but it's a really tough. So do I trust Arch Manning on the road, who is a number 1 quarterback recruit, or do I trust Julian Saint at home, number 1 quarterback class? Obviously, Bama transferred to OSU once Saban left. He was there for, a semester basically, maybe not even. But what does that look like? And I don't think there's a wrong answer, but where we're going to lean is Arch is more familiar, and OSU is replacing both their offensive coordinator, Brian Hart, who in 2023 was given the offensive coordinator job and then was put so he could have a higher best wide receiver coach in the country, right? And then basically lost that job. He didn't lose a job because he still kept getting paid, but Chip Kelly came in. So they obviously don't have faith in him at some level if they brought in Chip Kelly to call plays. And then their defensive coordinator went to a rival and left them the day after the national championship, which tells me that Ryan Day, who, a lot of respect to him, won a natty, but if your defensive coordinator doesn't like you that much, he maybe just wants a yes man on defense or a more collaborative approach, or they didn't like what he was running. But he had a number 1 defense. He did a really good job with that defense remaking it. So I just feel like there's a lot of turnover. Have the brain trust himself, Matt Patricia.
Yikes.
His best defenses, he wasn't named the defensive coordinator. Why is that? Because Bill Belichick was actually calling plays in your defensive coordinator. And then he left to go get a job. He coached one of the worst defenses in the country at Detroit, or in the NFL in Detroit. Then he goes back to be a senior analyst on the offense, sees torpedoes Mac Jones's career. He torpedoed it, and he was one of the lead play callers on that, but they wouldn't name him offensive coordinator because why would you give a smuck like that a real job? And then he goes to Philadelphia to go be a defensive analyst, gets in charge of play calling duty, and also does a poor job. So I don't think he's a very good coach. I think he's failed his way upwards, riding the Belichick legacy. So because of that, I'm riding with Texas, with more established coordinators and more established QB who won't be making his first start. And you're going to be like, yeah, but he hasn't made a big start. Just having a start under your feet, right? Getting your team and offense out onto the field where you know the play call, where you're aware of the play clock is important. So I think that there's going to be lulls scoring. I would take the under in this game, not betting advice, but I'd look at the under at this game where the defenses are more established, first-time kind of starters in their role, and I'm leaning Texas, but I don't think there's a wrong choice in who you take on this game. I just think they're established, especially at the coordinator position, where both of these guys weren't really their first choice. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm relying on this, and this is, I think, the year that Texas's coordinators are rocking with.
I love it, KB. I got nothing else to add. I think this is a loaded week 1, and we're not going to break them down. We got LSU, Clemson, my buddy's at. We got Florida State, Alabama, which could be interesting to see how Florida State is. I think on Monday is TCU, North Carolina, so Bill Belichick in college football. And there's probably a couple other under-the-radar games.
Notre Dame,
Notre Dame, Miami. Yeah. Convicts versus whatever, Catholics. That's a classic.
Yeah, we also have low-key a big one, but this is a big one for Nebraska and Cincinnati playing at Arrowhead, which I think
that's cool.
Situation. That's on Friday night alongside your game, which obviously you guys aren't good. Or it's on Thursday night, so we
can watch that
tomorrow night when you guys are listening to it. Auburn Baylor, which has huge implications. That's going to be at 5 p.m. Friday night. Sorry, wish you won't be able to watch that. And then Georgia Tech, Colorado, which is another game. And you guys might be like, why is it a big game? Well, I just think anytime we get Power 4 matchups week 1, we have to celebrate it.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech on the road to Colorado. How does Colorado look post Hunter and Shador? And, I think there's so many good games. Tennessee, Syracuse, which who knows how that looks, but Tennessee's breaking in a new quarterback. There's so many games, and that's cover all of them. Mm-hmm. But also, sneaky fun one, 9:45, Toledo versus Kentucky. Toledo upset Mississippi State last year. Jason Candle is their head coach. He was
the running back.
Looked at for,
Chip Trainum.
Where? Kentucky?
Toledo.
Chip Trainum, yeah.
Shout out my dynasty last year.
He might be 98 years old by the time he finishes up his college
it's like
career.
16. It's insane.
Yeah, but really, really fun. And then, the nightcap, which I hope everyone is still up around. I will be, obviously, the time difference. Utah versus UCLA, old Pac-12
Old Pac-12
rivalry.
after dark, baby.
But they're against each other. I really wish this could be a primary color game because it looked really good, the red versus the blue and gold. But obviously, that's reserved some of the rivalry games.
That'd be fun.
And then Virginia Tech, South Carolina. I mean,
that's a
boatload of games.
Oh, that's a legacy game too. If you think about the coach.
Exactly. Yep,
Wow.
all going to his. It's at South Carolina, so he's in Tech. There's so many games this weekend, guys. I hope you guys have zero plans. If you had any friends that said, "Well, we need to go camp," no, sorry.
If you have a wedding this weekend, get a grip.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be whack to have a wedding on this weekend. Shout out my brother who had one last year. His was on Sunday.
Yeah, it was
still
on
got
Sunday.
college football. But I hope he has a really good anniversary for his first anniversary. But really excited for this game. Really excited to kind of watch these things. And I'm just excited football's back, man. We'll be going back to 2 episodes a week to recap the game Saturday, to preview the next set of games. And then any game specifically you want us to cover,
Let us know.
want us to talk about, please feel free to reach out. Appreciate you guys so much for listening. Trying to grow a little bit on YouTube. Might do some advertising on there to get some chip up. So welcome in if you're new viewers. Outside quiz, do you have anything else there?
I do not. Looking forward to being in East Lansing all day Friday, watching a lot of football Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then back to it. And we're at a big game next week. BC at home at night. So looking forward to it. It's gonna be a heck of a weekend. Shout out to you guys. Just share the love. We're trying to get some listeners in here. A little bit long today, but hey, we're having fun. But thanks as always, and go green.
Go blue.